Welcome, Grizzly supporters. Here we are in the Morton Pottery Lounge at Miller Park with two past three-time Banning winning players from the 70s. Welcome, guys. Just to kick us off, can you introduce yourselves and where you grew up in Green Island?
Yeah, hi, my name's Dave Laws and I grew up in Green Island, born and raised here, and lived in District Road, Green Island, up by the Green Island Cemetery, and attended Green Island School and then went to King's High School.
My name's Kenneth Mitchell and I...
Sorry, Kenneth? Who calls you Kenneth?
Only when I'm
in trouble.
Naughty.
Yes. Rightio, sorry Kenneth, carry on. Ken.
And I lived in Boomer Street, just along the road from the rugby club, and I went to Green Island School, and then I changed school, went to Concord School and spent a bit of time up there. And then I went to Cote Valley High School.
KV, good man. Just as we look behind your shoulders there, Dave's left-hand shoulder, we've got the Bizet Memorial Trophy back in the cabinet. How good is it to have it back here at the club?
Well, the Bizet Memorial is a very special trophy. As both Ken and I played for Green Island the day that Ted Bizet had a massive heart attack in the stand at Tahuna Park. We were playing Pirates, and again we won, but we never knew what had unfolded in the stand when Ted passed away. So it's a good privilege to have the trophy back into Green Island.
Definitely, it's great for the team. Obviously, beating Tyree for a second time this season, but also great for the club and the Bizet family in our community. So as you both know, we're here for Heritage Day 2021. It's coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday, where we celebrate 100 years of playing footy at Miller Park. It must bring back memories for you both, because didn't you guys play back in 1921?
Hedge might have thought we did, but we didn't.
He told me he played with you guys then. Ken, where did you first meet Dave?
When I met Dave,
yeah.
I met him at Green Island School.
Yeah.
And he remembered me because there was two redheads.
Of course, Bruce as well, your twin.
Bruce, my twin brother, and then we moved from there with our family moving to Concord School. We all had to move up there and play up there.
And I've just learnt now that you moved there because your older siblings moved, whereas Dave has been telling me for 50 years nearly that you and Bruce got expelled.
But that made David happy.
Yes. He takes pride in telling that story, doesn't he?
Yes, he did.
Anything to add, Dave?
No, 1953 it was we started at Green Island School, and I can vividly remember Ken and Bruce because they both had bright red hair and they were very good here. A lot of memories.
That's great. And of course after primary school you met up again when?
Down here in the rugby club when I can remember Ken was a year behind us and come and joined us in the seniors squad down here because he played a year with Roy Scott's third grade side, and they'd won the competition, and then he come and joined us in the seniors squad. A very welcome addition to the team.
Yeah. And Ken was, did Bruce play in that third grade team with you, or was he already in the seniors?
No, he was he had to stay with me.
Oh, you can't separate?
No, you can't separate. Dad said no, with my broken arm, that I wasn't allowed to play, and then any rough stuff. So
yeah, fair enough. And of course, winning the banners in the 70s, 71, 73, 78 was amazing for obviously the team, the community and the club. And you had a bit of a legendary coach back then, one Jack McLaughlin. Tell us about his coaching style and some of your memories.
Well, Jack brought a lot of changes to the team with his ideas, changing the training nights to Monday, Wednesday, and his fitness regime was very good. So he got a lot of us a lot fitter than we were in the past. One of his ideas by changing to Monday, Wednesday was that he could give us a good run on the Monday night and a lighter run as Jack thought on the Wednesday night, but that never really happened, so he had two good runs during the week, and then 2 days excuse me, I recover before the game. Stop that, was it?
Pity it's not Spates. Rightio. And Ken, any memories from Jack's coaching style and maybe some of the things he taught you?
He taught me where to stand on the paddock and not to stand too close to the touchline when somebody's kicking the ball. He said that way there, that when you stood beside the touchline, he said that gave an indication of where the touchline was. When the guy had a penalty against you, he'd line up and kick towards you. So basically I stood infield a wee bit, and that way there I gained a lot of ball and that from it, and we took it back up again to the...
Yeah. Excellent. And of course, along with some other players in the 70s, you both went on to represent Otago, Dave, Otago B, and you played a few games for them.
Yeah, I played 20-something games for Otago B, and I think Ken played about 50-odd games for the A's, and his career was very, very good, and he was a great player for Otago.
That's right. And Ken, you said you played a number of years for Otago?
Yeah, around about 50.
50 games, but
Yeah.
and over what sort of period?
A period of time of 10 years.
Yeah.
Straight from... I don't know, I just can't remember how long it was, but
That's all right.
10 years it was.
Yeah. And
But it was hard years that made it hard for the family and made it hard for Nerily, because basically in the times that we played for your club, and you played for practice for the club ground, Otago, and then you're away, and it was really hard.
yeah, and that's the commitment that obviously you guys put in back then with time with the team and the various teams, but also we see to dispose today in today's game. There's players are practicing with multiple teams and playing games, from sort of March through to September if they represent, which is so it's a great commitment. And
Just one thing, Chris, also in those times that Ken was playing for Otago and I played for Otago B, while some of the Otago B games were at the end of the season, a lot of Ken's games were being played while the seniors were playing, so those guys had to not only play for Otago, then they used to have to front up for the club side on the Saturday, and on a couple of occasions Jack has been known to travel away to pick up his boys who played for Otago that day and bring them back so they could come to training that night. So that's what it was like in those days, and also playing on a Saturday, it also gave the ability to play against sides which were playing in the senior competition. Many of them had Otago and All Blacks playing in their teams. We got to play against all those guys on a Saturday.
which is great experiences, and as you say, great commitment from Jack as the coach to ensure he had his top players available for the club games. And of course, both played a lot of times at Carisbrook. We're back then. Most of the games were at Carisbrook and at Tahuna.
I remember the time playing against Zingaree, first time we beat Zingaree in Carisbrook, and I intercepted between the centre and the wing the ball and had to run the full length. It's the longest bit of running I had to do.
Yeah, that was where probably the year before we won the championship, we sort of got up into the senior grade, and we were down to play Zingaree at Carisbrook, which was, thanks to Butavi, to become our home ground for a few years, and Zingaree had numerous Otago players and a few All Blacks, and Ken was right, he did intercept the ball from down in the railway end, picked it up and took off, and he was getting down to the about the opposite 25, and Gordon Hunter came over to tackle him, but as you know, Gordon Hunter only had one eye and he never saw Ken's fan coming as he went to tackle him, and Ken pushed him off. Ken scored under the post. Jack Reck was the referee for the day, and as you know, old Jack had a toupee on and he was running down halfway with his hand on his head trying to keep his toupee on his head, blew the whistle for a try, and no need for a third referee look at that try because he was at halfway when he awarded the try.
Good times. And you mentioned Zingaree, and I'm guessing you played against that prop, Keith Murdoch?
Yeah, Keith was playing that day, and I was propping against him. I was loose head, and Jack Aiken was our hooker for the day, and Eyeball was the other prop, and we had a scrum away down under the row stand corner there, and old Jack was going to give old Keith one, but I said, just settle down and we'll just take it as it comes. Anyway, it was there put in, and old Keith slipped under me and lifted our whole front row off the bloody ground.
And Ken, you were telling us a story about how Dave got one back on Keith.
Yeah, Keith would be standing in the line out and throwing the ball in, and David used to take it well, and when I threw it into him, but David would always take Keith's ball, and then as they were walking back to the line out, and the next throw in was for Zingaree, Keith tapped David on the shoulder and said, I'll take my ball and you take your ball. And David said, yes, that was okay.
And he tapped me on the shoulder and said, you take any more of my ball, mate, I'll knock your friggin' head off.
How did that feel coming from a current All Black?
Oh, it was quite good. So the next line out, I thought this will be interesting to see what happens. So it was our throw in, so we swapped the call and went to the back, I think, and the ball came over my head, and I ducked down, and Keith, this almighty squish came whistling over my head, and that was Keith. That was his response.
But he didn't connect.
No.
Well done. Well played. And Ken, you mentioned throwing in the line out, which for a winger, that's obviously doesn't happen today, so that was different times.
Yeah. It was good throwing the ball in because I threw it with my left hand, and throwing it in, it always used to go over higher on the left hand side of it, which was the opposition, and come down on our side, and the opposition used to complain, and the referee would say to me, that's all right, because it was on your side for a start, so they weren't high enough to get the ball. So
you're like an in-swing cricket bowler?
It was, yes.
Oh wow. And as well as jumping in number 10 in the line out, Dave also kicking some goals.
Yeah, I think it was a throwback to my soccer days. I had quite a strong right boot, so I was in the early days of getting to the seniors. I did the goal kicking, and so I had a reasonable success, but nothing from a big distance out. So I kicked right through till the first year we won the championship, and then Brian McKechnie was our fullback for the second year, so he went on to greater things, but he also a very good goal kicker, so he did the kicking from then on in. And then later on we had Les Patrick, who was also a soccer player in his early days. He was one of the first players in Dunedin to use the round of the corner kick, which is everybody's doing these days, and he kicked some amazing goals for us with using that method.
He's a good player as well.
Yeah.
And obviously after your playing days, you both go back in coaching. And Ken, you coached a season with, you were saying, the senior B team?
Senior B team, yeah. I found it hard for myself to try and give something back to the players, but some of the players were stubborn
they knew better, did they?
They knew better. So basically I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't coach any further.
Oh, well we'll put that down to their loss. And Dave, I recall back in the 80s coaching the Colts and the seniors.
Yeah, I helped Peter Graham, who in his own right was a very good fullback and played many games at fullback for Gridiron. He was a good coach, and I helped him with the Colts. And we won the competition that year. I helped him, and Peter lived next to Jack McLaughlin, and I'm sure those two conjured up many plans for the seniors. I went and coached with Kevin Masters for the seniors for 1 year, and then coached the seniors the following year with Lawrence Graham, and that was the end of my coaching career after 1 year. I gave up and went on to do other things.
Excellent. It was great that you both gave back. Hey, now we move on to talking about Miller Park. While you both didn't play back in 1921, you've played here numerous times. What are some of the memorable games that you have playing on Miller Park?
Well, Miller Park, as Hedge has said in his previous talks, there used to be a road going up the middle up to Armstrong's Orchard, and on the side over where the Labor Party Hall was the soccer ground, and on this side where the existing Miller Park number 1 is it? It's number 1.
That's 2.
Yeah.
Number two is that's where our original ground was, but it had a rather steep slope on it, and it ran up the top of up to the top of Harrison's Pit there. So if you won the toss, you obviously played uphill in the first half, because not many sides actually had a win down here if they were playing uphill in the second half. So memorial games there, I can remember my first game I played down here for the seniors. My first game in the front row, she was a Sea of Mud, and I think we played Varsity B, and we won 6-3, so that's one of my early memories.
Excellent. And Ken, yourself?
Yeah, the angle of the ground was amazing to other teams. They couldn't understand, why we didn't have it flat. And you could actually lie on the bottom below the goalposts and look straight up and just see the crossbar. That's how much angle it had on it.
Wow. So the toss was obviously important, as you say. So Hedges provided some great insight into the history of Miller Park, particularly the impact of the Abbotsford slip in 1979. You both lived in the community then. What were some of your memories of that, and the impact not just on the club but also the people?
Well, with the Green Island slip, which had been causing, there was a few issues, years in advance of the slip actually bursting, coming down the hill, with people's houses suffering cracks, water connections splitting. So the council were obviously on the case, but nobody knew what was actually going to happen. And in the end, I think there was about, the night of the slip, 68 houses were destroyed, and they were lucky there was no loss of life to my knowledge. But Gavin Anderson's truck was caught in, I think, Edward Street, and it was sitting up there with part of Edward Street which wasn't destroyed. So Gavin had to leave his truck there, and somehow later they got it out. And then their house got red zones, so they weren't allowed to live there. So we decided to clean all his contents out. So the team got together with a couple of trucks, and we took a lot of the stuff up to our house in Ensor Street at the time and stored it there for them. And then we took Gavin's piano. He used to be able to play the piano after he had a few spates, and took it round to Lawrence's place, and Lawrence taught him, that's Lawrence Graham. Lawrence taught himself to play the piano for the 8 weeks that he had possession of the piano. So then when they got, Kay and Gavin got permission to move back in, and they shifted all their belongings back, and they were allowed to move back, but not the case for a lot of the residents who had lost their properties. And it was a sad time for the community, where a lot of people were upset, and cost the community, no, not the community, but EQC a lot of money. I think it was about $10 million the total cost, and to this day they're still not sure what caused the slip to come down.
Right. With the slip in that, it was very frightening to live just along the road a wee bit. The back of our place in Boomer Street there, the water had built up. It was because of the railway, the build-up of debris, and that was blocking the water from flowing through under the bridge. And that was the frightening part, that I thought the club itself would end up getting flooded as well. But it was frightening. It was.
Yeah, as you say, tough times for the community, and
it was
good to hear that obviously people in the community rallied around to help each other. And I vaguely remember the slip, and you mentioned Gavin and Kay living up at the top of Christie Street with kids, obviously Lynn and Ian aka Angry. I recall going up to see them maybe when they were moved back in, a bunch of dads and a bunch of kids. We went for a walk over the fields, which are now 3 and 4 fields. We walked over the slip, and we got to the edge of the fence line, and beyond that fence line was the local nudist colony. and I vaguely remember that all the kids got sent back home, back to Kane Gavin's house, and the dads carried on. Why did the kids get sent back when you got to the nudist colony fence?
Oh, well, I'm not sure. Your memory must be a lot better than mine, Chris, because I can't remember that incident.
Yeah, but the swimming pool was had a deep end and a shallow end with the new slip, and they exposed a lot of things.
Oh, right, a lot of things. Okay. Oh, right. Well, I remember getting turned back, so I was always intrigued about what your dad's got up to. Sounds pretty dodgy. Okay, so we've talked about the football and cricket being here at Miller Park as well, and Dave, you played for the GI Cricket Club here and scored some runs.
Yeah, I can remember the Gridiron Cricket Club here before they moved to Sunnyvale. Right at the top of the ground near the Armstrong's orchard, they had a wicket up there where we used to practice up there. Then later on the club made 2 wickets, which was just outside here, outside of the hall, and we used to come down here and practice and train. Well, it wasn't really called training, but we just come and had a bat and a bowl and a bit of a field. The teams would be picked for Saturday, and away we'd go and play on Saturdays. They had some very good cricketers, and later on they moved to Sunnyvale. I can remember being coached down here by Billy Abadella. I still can remember him saying to me, bat and pad. But no, they were for fun times with the cricket club.
And legend tells a story that you actually scored a century out on the pitch, which, well, I remember field number 1 now, but it was obviously where the cricket was played. So it was short boundaries. Is that right? Is that how you got a century? Yeah,
legend is correct, Christopher. I did score a century here. It was against Dunedin. I think it was about 108 or something. 2-day game down here. So yeah, that was.
They actually played other sports down here. Baseball.
Okay.
When I was coming down, I used to see them playing down here and games and stuff like that. It was good.
Right. So we're playing Kaikoura this weekend, and predictions. How do you see the game going, and maybe a score?
Well, after watching Gridiron a few times this year, they're vastly improved from last year, and I think they can beat Kaikoura. So I'm predicting a score of. At least under 13, because I play golf at the Torrey Golf Club, and there's a guy out there by the name of Dave Barnett, an ex-Kaikoura man. I'm sick and tired of him raving on about how good Kaikoura is. He's got a short memory, because when he played for Kaikoura, we used to dick them every time.
So it's payback time.
Payback time.
Right, so under less than 13 points. So Ken, have you got any thoughts on a scoreline or?
Oh, plus 13.
Plus 13. Oh, right, and a win to GI obviously from both of you. So hopefully, and I'm sure you'll both be right. So as we finish off, I just want to thank you both for your time, and as we look back on a slice of not just Miller Park history where you both played, but also your time together as obviously lifelong friends. And as I say, once again, thanks for your time. And if you can find me this weekend on Heritage Day, that's my shout. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.